And we are back for yet another unboxing, and today we're going to be looking at the CROBOLL, which is a car from a company that I've only just started dealing with recently. You may remember the Lalo little buggy that I unboxed a little while ago. Well, now they've released this one. It comes in a couple of colors. There's the blue one and there's also a gray one. It's four-wheel drive. It's a monster truck, truggy sort of design. It does about 50 to 70 kilometers an hour because it is only brushed, but it can run on 2S or 3S. And yes, it does look a lot like the Kraton. So just like with the Lalo buggy, you get the radio, you get the car, and you get a spare bag full of goodies. Now there's a lot of bits in here, so I'll try and go through this as quickly as possible. There's a big foam bumper that you can install on the car. A lot of people actually use these on the buggy to do speed runs and things like that, so that can come in handy for that application if you want. Some spare drive shafts, you get front and rear here. So there's CVDs in the front and just standard dog bones in the rear, so they actually give you a spare set of those, although you only get two. You get some tools here, so there's a cross wrench, a Phillips head screwdriver and some body pins, so nice that they've included all of that as well. You get some spare wheel nuts and washers and hexes for your wheels as well. So that's really nice that they've included those. People always seem to get those, let those go missing. Some spare arms, hinge pins, some locking nuts as well. So this is something that I think should really be a standard with a lot of the bigger companies as well, because you pay such good money and a lot of the times you don't get any of these spares. A spare charger for your battery. And then in here, there is, I actually got two sticker sheets, but this is a sticker sheet that you get for the body. The body doesn't come as you see it. It comes with like a protective plastic film that you got to peel off, and then you apply your own stickers. And you also have to install the rear wing mount. So the spoiler's already on the wing mount. Yeah, it's already on the wing mount. You just have to install it to the car. And this is what these instructions are for. They're kind of vague really, but they do sort of explain how you install the wing mount on the car. And then, yeah, I got two sets of stickers. I don't know if this is meant to happen or if this was just a spare set that happened to come with this car. And then of course you get the user manual, which is actually pretty good as well. I think on the back here, yeah, they still haven't given us part numbers. So everything is via a description, which is really odd. So I would like to see them at some point, you know, bring out these cars with part numbers so you can actually look up the number that you need. And then of course you got the radio, which is the same as what I got with the buggy. Yeah, this looks to be okay. Hopefully I don't have the lag with this car that I had with the buggy, but we'll soon see. Okay, so for the radio, this is not a bad looking radio and it does feel okay in the hand. The wheel is quite nice. It's got a drop down. It, you know, it looks nice. It's a reasonable radio and it's well featured. You've got your reverse switches here. You got your steering trim, throttle trim over here, and steering dual rate. Now, this is where it gets really interesting with this radio because steering trim works as per normal. That's fine. The steering rate doesn't work the way that you'd think it would work. So I've got my steering rate turned all the way to max. If I turn my steering rate down, as soon as I touch this steering, I just get full lock straight away. So normally steering dual rates means that, you know, if you turn it down, you have less steering, which gives you, you'll have to rotate the wheel more to get, you know, the full steering. But in this case, by turning the steering rate down, as soon as you touch this, you have full steering. So it actually makes it more difficult to drive with the steering rate turned down. And it doesn't lessen your steering. You still have full lock like you would normally. So it's very strange how the rates work. The throttle trim doesn't work as throttle trim. It works as throttle dual rate. So if you turn the throttle trim down, so you'll notice that out of the box, this is actually turned all the way to max. And if you turn that rate down, you're basically going to go slower when you pull the trigger on the car. Now, I did have a little bit of a play with this just now, and I have to say that I don't feel the lag on the throttle like before, but it's doing something weird just the same, and that's with the brakes. So when I was trying it out, I was like, okay, I'll go full throttle and I'll hit the brake. And the thing is, if you hit the brake slowly, it will automatically go into reverse. So for you to actually hit the brake and lock up the wheels, you got to go from full throttle to full brake as fast as you can. If you slow down too much or you only give half a brake, it kind of goes straight into reverse. It's so weird. I've never seen an ESC do this. And I have to say that, you know, with both of these cars, the buggy and now this little truggy, this is the #1 failure on these cars, is the radio system. They need to improve this to really make it worth your while. Because at the moment, even though this might be drivable or better or more drivable than the buggy was, it's still not quite right. It doesn't work the way that radios traditionally work. So that's one thing they need to address, I feel. It does run on 3 AA's though, so you have a spare AA batteries to, I don't know, put on your kitchen clock or something like that. But aside from that, you know, there's no collapsible antennas or anything like that. It's just a shame that they're not 100%. If they had these right, these cars would be really hard to beat for value. So moving on to the car itself, the CROBOLL 4x4 little off-road Kraton lookalike. This is not a bad looking car, I must admit. I mean, obviously it's modeled after the Kraton. They did change a few things around, but I think the spoiler is pretty much identical. The grille and the headlights are a bit different, but you know, the overall shape of the car and the body is very much, you know, the Kraton in a nutshell. Even the tires are very, very similar. So the wheels are different though. That's not something that you see on an Armour, but this looks a little bit like the EXB bumper, but they've changed it enough. And of course you got some LED lights in there, which I'm curious to see how they hold up, you know, after a few hard impacts. The rear spoiler back here does come with a wheelie bar already pre-installed, and it's one of those really nice wide ones, so it should you know, support the car when you're doing wheelies. It does have a little bit of flex to it, which I appreciate. I think that's going to help with some impacts. And of course the front bumper also has a bit of flex in there and a bit of give, which I like also. The car does have an aluminium chassis. I think this is like 1.5 mil, something like that. It's not a super thick chassis, but it doesn't need to be. I mean, this is a very small car, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and take the body pins out, and I'll give you a bit of a quick glimpse at the body before we get stuck into the nitty-gritty of this thing. So the body itself actually has some rigidity to it. Does feel kind of solid. I will say that this actually feels a lot better than some of the other bodies that you pay some you know, good money for on some other RCs. So I think this is actually going to hold up pretty nicely. Now for the car itself, as you can see, very much the same as the buggy that I unboxed a little while ago. You got your battery over on this side. The ESC is sitting on top of this top deck, but it does have a little recess, so it kind of dips down a little bit. And then you've got on this side, we've got our motor, which is a 540 size motor. And then you have your steering servo just at the front there. Wire management's not too bad. Now this is a 2-in-1 ESC, so it also acts as a receiver, which is one of the issues that I had with the previous car as well. So the tires actually don't feel too bad, although I would have preferred some, you know, some slightly firmer foams. I think the foams on these may deteriorate over time and get even softer, but the rubber compound is not too bad. I think this is actually going to grip you know, pretty well. Suspension wise, it's okay. It's oil filled, so hopefully it'll hold up all right. As you can see, it doesn't have too much rebound, which is nice. It absorbs the car pretty well. The suspension on the buggy was actually quite nice, so I'm hoping that the suspension on this is good. You do have aluminium threaded bodied shocks, so you can adjust those quite easily. You can see the wire here for the LED light is going in between the shock and the shock tower. So I may actually unplug that and bring it through the middle of the shock tower. Speaking of shock towers, these look to be about 2, maybe 2.5 millimeters thick. These are alloy, and that's a nice touch because, you know, at this price point, you'd probably expect to see plastic shock towers, but they've actually given us alloy, which is quite nice. Battery included in here is a 1800 milliamp 2-cell LiPo battery, so you can see that there. So that's nice that they've included that. And of course, as you saw, you do get a little charger to go with it as well, if you have absolutely nothing else to charge your battery. What else can I tell you? Body posts are over here, and they've also included the stock body posts from the buggy. So you can see there's two little ones back there and one little one just at the front there. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. You got adjustable camber limps at the rear. You do have provisions for droop screws, but they don't include them with this car. So there are holes already pre-drilled. Sorry, I was out of frame there. There are holes pre-drilled for on the A-arms for your droop screws, but they don't include them. CVD drive shafts in the front, as you would have seen in the spare parts bag. They do give you one CVD for the front. I think these are running 12mm hexes as well, from what I can tell. So you'll be able to swap out these wheels and tires for maybe 2.2-inch little stadium truck tires, or you can put some buggy tires on here. You can do some foam tires if you want to. You want to convert this into a speed run machine, you can do that. So there's actually a lot of possibilities with this type of platform, especially since you've got, you know, I mean, if you can fit a 540 size motor in here, no doubt you'll be able to fit, you know, a 36mm diameter brushless motor in here as well. I've seen people do the speed run challenge that Lalo had going last month, or earlier, they finished earlier this month or something. And those guys with the buggy, the purple buggy that I showed you earlier, they were hitting 130 miles an hour with that car. Absolutely insanity. And of course they were converting it and putting different ESCs in here and doing all sorts of crazy things. So the amount of power that you can pump out through these little platforms is actually quite amazing. They're doing speed runs that you can't even achieve in 10 scale cars, you know, so it's pretty incredible how fast these little guys can go. So I think that pretty much summarizes everything with this guy as far as features. So I'll put the body back on, and if I can get him back on there, and there we go, and we can move on. Now the wish list on this is actually very, very short. There's really only one item that I've got added to my wish list, and that's just a proper working radio. That's the only thing that's missing from this car, because I love the fact that they've included a bunch of spare parts. I wish we could maybe start a petition for bigger brands to include things like commonly broken parts such as A-arms or steering links or something that they know may be a potential failure when you're running the car, you know, over the next couple of weeks or something like that when you first get it. So it's really something different and refreshing to see a company including spare parts and accessories and things like that in such a small little package like this. I kind of wish that bigger companies would do that as well. But there's not much else I can pick on it, you know, other than the radio. Because, you know, including all those goodies is great, but all of that gets pushed aside when you have to go out and spend money on a radio just to use the car properly. So I'm hoping that in the future they can address this and they can fix it, and the next car I review from them, even if it's the same shape radio, that problem is no longer there with delays and the issue with the steering rates and all that sort of thing. And just like that, we have come to the end of yet another unboxing. A big thank you and shout out to Lalo for sending this car out for review. I really do appreciate them supporting the channel. Be sure to check out the video description. I'll have links in there to their website. They are currently having a sale, a bit of a promotion with the launch of these vehicles. So if you want to do maybe some early Christmas shopping, or you want to grab a couple for your kids or something like that, be sure to click on those links and help yourselves to some really good deals that they're having at the moment. But that is pretty much it from me, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.